Hello everyone, in this video we are going to study chapter life processes, which is first chapter of bio of class 10. So what do you understand by term life processes? The processes which are essential to maintain our life. This definition usually comes in your exam. So these four key points you have to remember: basic functions, growth, development and survival. The basic functions which are essential for growth, development and survival. Now in this chapter we are going to study these four life processes. These different life processes we are going to study in different chapters. In this video I will be covering nutrition portion. Now let's start with nutrition. What do you understand by nutrition? We take food. Why? Just to get energy so that we can perform various activities. So nutrition means that we are taking in food so that we can get energy from the food. That process is called nutrition. Now nutrition is obtained from nutrients. In food, the nutrients are present. They can be micro or macro. Micronutrients are those nutrients which are required in small amounts, like vitamins and minerals. Macronutrients are those nutrients which are required in large amount. For example, carbohydrates, fats and proteins. These macronutrients are important to be involved in your diet. Now we will discuss modes of nutrition. Organisms take nutrients from their surroundings by two modes. They are autotrophic and heterotrophic. Autotrophic nutrition is in which organism makes their own food, like green plants. They make their own food with the help of photosynthesis. About this autotrophic nutrition we will be discussing more in detail. Now we will be discussing heterotrophic nutrition. The nutrition in which organism takes food from another organism, means he is dependent on another organism for its requirement of nutrients. These are of three types: saprophytic, holozoic and parasitic. Saprophytic nutrition is the food is digested outside, means there is an organism. We secrete digestive enzymes on that organism. The organism is digested outside the body, and now that digested organism is ingested by us. Means first of all the digestion takes place, then ingestion takes place. The examples are bread mold, mushroom, yeast. You will find the MCQ in your question paper that bread mold, mushroom, yeast belong to which type of nutrition? Saprophytic, holozoic, parasitic or autotrophic? The answer will be saprophytic nutrition. So remember these three examples. Now holozoic nutrition. The food is ingested and then digested. Means the food is outside, we take it inside the body and then the digestion takes place inside the body. This is just opposite to saprophytic. In this, the digestion was taking place first and then ingestion. In this case, ingestion takes place first and then digestion. The examples are humans, amoeba, dog and cat. Now parasitic nutrition. Parasitic nutrition is the organism which gets food by living inside the body or outside the body. For example, lice. You must have heard about lice which occur in your hairs. Lice, ticks, tapeworms, cuscuta, plasmodium. These are the examples of parasitic nutrition. Now let's talk about autotrophic nutrition. We have already discussed that what is autotrophic nutrition. The nutrition in which organisms make their own food. We'll take the examples: green plants and blue-green algae. Achha, those organisms which perform autotrophic nutrition are known as autotrophs. Remember, there is a difference between autotrophs and autotrophic nutrition. This is a mode and this is organisms. For example, if I talk about students, the students are of course living beings or organisms, and the process which they are carrying out is studying. So studying is a process and students are the organisms. That's what the difference between the two. Now we'll talk about photosynthesis. We have been talking about photosynthesis since 6th standard. So you must be knowing this. If we'll talk about definition, then the plants which make their food with the help of carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll is known as photosynthesis. The process is called photosynthesis. Now remember, this is a reaction. If they talk about that what is the reaction, then you have to write the complete reaction. Also remember to write this 6 because this is a balanced reaction. So you have to write down a balanced reaction in your exam. Now, if we talk about raw materials, that what materials are required to perform photosynthesis? These are, first is carbon dioxide, which is present in air. Next, second is water, which the plants take from the soil. You water the plants, you water it. Now that water is taken from the soil. Now third is sunlight, which is obtained from the sun obviously. And the fourth is chlorophyll. So what is chlorophyll? We have studied that chlorophyll is a green colored pigment which is present in the leaves. And in leaves also it is present in which cell organelle? It is present in chloroplast. Recall it that you must have studied about chloroplast in cell chapter of class 9th. So in this chloroplast, what is present? A green colored pigment known as chlorophyll. Now food is made whose formula is C6H12O6. Food is made in the form of glucose, and the extra product which is formed in photosynthesis is oxygen. You know that plants take carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So this is known as the byproduct of photosynthesis. Now we will be talking about what are the main events of photosynthesis. Now, main events of photosynthesis means what events are taking place during photosynthesis. This question is usually asked in your exams. So do remember these three events. You have to write all these three events. The first event is chlorophyll absorbs light energy. See, I have talked about the importance of chlorophyll. The importance of chlorophyll is that it absorbs the sunlight. So chlorophyll absorbs light energy. Sunlight is a form of light energy only. The first event is chlorophyll absorbs light energy. The second event is light energy converted to chemical energy. See here, this was light energy and you are able to see now a chemical compound. So the light energy got converted into chemical energy. Now water molecules. See beta, you must have studied in chemistry that water molecule splits into two molecules, that is hydrogen and oxygen. So there are two steps in the second event. Remember this. Light energy is converted into chemical energy, and the second step is water molecules split into hydrogen and oxygen. Now the third point is CO2 reduced to carbohydrate. Beta, here's the carbon dioxide and this is the carbohydrate. See, a glucose is a form of carbohydrates. You will study many forms of carbohydrates in your class 11th chemistry. So a glucose is a form of carbohydrate. Now CO2 is reduced to carbohydrate means, what is the meaning of reduce? You must have studied in chemistry that reduce means loss of oxygen. See here, with one carbon how many oxygen are present? 2 oxygen. That means with 6 carbon there should be 12 oxygen. But you are able to see that how many oxygen are present here? Only 6. That means there is deficiency of oxygen over here. So that's why I am saying that CO2 is reduced to carbohydrate. Now the events are clear. Now we'll see what is the site of photosynthesis. But a plant has many parts like flowers, roots, leaves, stem. So where does photosynthesis occur? It is the leaves. Why leaves only? Because chloroplast occur in leaves. And I have told you that in chloroplast, a green color pigment is present, that is chlorophyll, which is necessary for photosynthesis. That's why the process occurs in leaves. Now we will discuss about stomata. What do you mean by stomata? We have studied earlier also in earlier classes that the stomata are the tiny pores, small holes which are present on leaf or stem on the outermost layer. This epidermis means outermost layer. So these are present in outermost layer of leaf or stem. And what are the functions of stomata? The first function is exchange of gases. But what is exchange of gases? Like in humans, the exchange of gases takes place through nostrils. Like we take in oxygen from nostrils and carbon dioxide from nostrils. So in case of plants, these are stomata. Like these are nostrils of plants. They take carbon dioxide and release oxygen. Now the next function is transpiration. Beta, we humans lose water in the form of sweat or urine. but in plants, they lose water in the form of water vapor, and this process is known as transpiration. So if you are asked about functions of stomata, you have to remember these two key points: exchange of gases and transpiration. Now comes the structure of stomata. We will discuss that what is the diagram of stomata. See, these 5 labelings are important to mention in your diagram. First is guard cells. Guard cells are these cells which look like kidney shaped or bean shaped, rajma shaped. These are guard cells. We will be discussing the function of these guard cells later on in the opening and closing of stomata. Right now you see just the diagram. And this, the between guard cells, this pore, this hole is known as stomatal pore. Now these red colored circles are known as chloroplast. I have already discussed the function of chloroplast. I will not repeat. Now this is nucleus. This green shape, this green dot is nucleus. We have studied in class 9th that what is the function of nucleus. In cell, all the functions are coordinated by nucleus. This is the brain of the cell, right? So in this also the nucleus is the brain of the stomata. The opening and closing of stomata will be regulated by nucleus. Now subsidiary cells. There is no major role of subsidiary cells. You must just remember that subsidiary cells help in protection of these guard cells, in safety, and also they act like reservoir of water. So you should remember that you have to mention all these 5 labelings in your diagram. Now we will be discussing the opening and closing of stomata. Now we will discuss about opening and closing of stomata, that how does it open and how does it close. It is controlled by turgidity of guard cells. Means what is the pressure inside the guard cells. These are the guard cells. I have already told you in the diagram. Now assume it that it is your school. This is your school. The stomatal pore is your school, and these are the guards who are regulating the opening and closing of your stomata. So the guard cells are responsible for opening the stomata and for closing the stomata. Now when does it open and when does it close? When these guard cells take water from their surroundings, then they get swell up beta. They get a pressure inside them due to the water. Like in a balloon, you fill water and the balloon becomes quite turgid. It has quite a pressure. So here also the pressure develops. Due to this excessive pressure, the guard cells open. This is stomatal pore open. Okay, and now this results in the opening of stomata. After this opening of stomata, the exchange of gases will take place. The loss of water will take place. Now, when the water is released, all the water is released. Now these guard cells get shrink, bache. They will shrink and become flaccid in shape, type of flat. They become shrink and they become flaccid, due to which this stomatal pore gets shrink, this becomes a small, and this results in closing of stomata. Now the guard cells are shrink, so that's why the stomatal pore is closed. So this results in closing of stomata. If you are asked that explain opening and closing of stomata, you have to write all the 3 points. These are must, that controlled by how opening takes place and how closing takes place. Now we will be discussing about heterotrophic nutrition in amoeba. But we talked about opening and closing of stomata. That was the last topic of autotrophic nutrition. Now we will be discussing in detail about heterotrophic nutrition. The first organism I have taken is amoeba. You all know that amoeba is a unicellular organism. What do you mean by unicellular? Uni means one, which is composed of one cell. Now, the amoeba performs what type of nutrition? Holozoic. We have discussed that heterotrophic nutrition is of 3 types, bache. First is saprophytic, then holozoic, and then parasitic. What was holozoic? Remember it. Holozoic means when we ingest the food and then digestion takes place inside the body of the organism. Now, what are the steps, bache? These are the 5 steps which take place during holozoic nutrition. First is ingestion. Like we have taken the food, from the outside. This is known as ingestion. Now digestion. But see, the food is quite complex. It has many forms: carbohydrates, fats, proteins in complex form. So it should be digested into simple molecules. Why? Because it is very difficult for the body to absorb complex substances. So these complex substances need to be converted into simple molecules first, so that the body can easily absorb these simple substances. Now absorption. These simple substances are then absorbed by the body. Now assimilation. See, the food is ingested, we have digested it, the food is absorbed also. But it has to be utilized, it has to be used by the body, so that it can give us energy. Energy for our growth, for our development, for the repair of cells. So now the body has used the food. Now there is some food left, bache, which is undigested. Means it cannot be digested further. So this undigested food needs to be removed from the body. That process is known as egestion. So now I'll be relating these 5 steps with amoeba, because in amoeba it's have holozoic nutrition taking place. First of all, amoeba has pseudopodia. But what is pseudopodia? Pseudo means it's false and podia means feet. So it's pseudopodia which helps amoeba in its movement, and it takes in food with the help of this pseudopodia only. So it is performing 2 functions. It helps in ingesting the food and in its movement. So these food particles are present outside the surroundings. Now this is amoeba. Now this amoeba has pseudopodia. These pseudopodia will arrange themselves in such a shape that they are taking inside the food particles. Now this pseudopodia gets closed to form a food vacuole. What do we mean by food vacuole? The vacuole in which food is present. In this vacuole, the food will be digested with the help of digestive enzymes, which are the enzymes which help in digestion are known as digestive enzymes. Now you have seen that ingestion has taken place, digestion has taken place. Now this digested food has to be absorbed by the body and then used by the body. Now the amoeba uses this food for its reproduction, for its growth, development. Now there is some food particle which is left undigested. It has to be thrown out from the body. So now the pseudopodia gets opened and this undigested food particles are thrown out. This is how the nutrition takes place in amoeba. Now this was unicellular and it was a simple organism. Now I will be talking about human beings. What type of nutrition takes place in human beings? We will discuss it, because heterotrophic nutrition in human beings is quite complex, because we are complex organisms, so our nutrition is quite complex.